Hey now, it is Joshua Townsend, coming to you to talk about the creative process. And that's an email saying that I'm live right now. Isn't that great? So, yeah, live. There's a lot of talk about mindset right now, and mindset is really important for the creative artist, for sure, for the creative, for the artist, for anyone involved in the creative process. It's vital. And making it a habit, making it a daily practice. There's no question about that. And I am a huge proponent and I help people get into states of being. States of mind is another way of saying it. Mindset would be slightly different, but it's in the same world. So that when you go into your creative process, you have access to as much as you possibly can. The doors are open, the spectrum is wide, and you can really dig in. So that's all vital. Now, what I need to bring into the room that isn't being talked about as much as I would like it to be talked about, including for myself, and that is that there's actually two states of being that we want to develop. The first state of being is the state of being that you need to be in order to be in your creative process, in your creativity. So it's the instrument, it's the artist, it's the creative, right? So me, Joshua, my state of being needs to be in a certain space that's open, allowing, available, etc., present. So I have more resources available to me to pull from as an artist, as a creative, as a writer. Okay, so that's very distinctive. The other state of being is the state of being that one is required to adhere to get into, and I'm using the word required in quotes, but mandated, because the narrative or the state of being of the character that you're writing to or from is in a certain state, and the character has a limited perspective. Otherwise, we wouldn't be writing about that character. And so the artist wants to be as open as possible. And then the character has been going down a turnpike, going down a road that usually is getting narrower and narrower, and there's less and less options to force their aberrant behavior to come forward so it can be transformed. So what we want to do is we want to be able to distinguish between those two states of being, and then when we need or required to go into the other state of being, the state of being for the character, to develop that as well. And that's very different because that state of being is going to be tracking to a certain emotional state where there's certain thoughts and feelings that are being consciously aroused within me, the artist, so that I can tap into their energy, so I can look through the eyes of, so I can be in their shoes, so I can hold their perspective first position. I'm not the writer anymore in terms of having the overview. I am in it. I am that character. And I need to be able to hold multiple perspectives if I'm going to be switching back and forth from character to character writing, in that fashion. I need to be able to switch back and forth, or I may be needed to doing a deep dive into one character to really get like what it is they're going through, what their point of view is, what their reference points are, their nonverbal and verbal behavior, what they would pull from their environment. I mean, there's a lot of, you can see my brain going off there. There's a lot of things that you can pull from, from internal life, external life, comparison, judgments, basically state of being, how the character thinks and feels. Considerations, evaluations, a bunch of stuff. So, and that's in real time, and you can only make those discoveries in real time. In that way, if you sit back and have the overview of the writer, it's not the same because you're not in it, you're not baking, You know, you want to be baking, you want to be in the heat of the moment, and be surprised. You know, make discoveries, right? That's part of why we do what we do, right? As creatives. So it's a very different skill set. With actually, it's a similar skill set, but the intention is different. So it's a similar skill set of being able to purposely go into a certain state of being, but it's a state of being that most of us may or may not want to live in, right? The state of being that you go into to go into the creative cycle, you know, you can look forward to it. You can go, you know, I'm juiced, I'm in flow. But, you know, when you do the other state of being that's specific for the character under those imaginary circumstances, then it's going to be very, well, like I said before, it's like going down a chute. It's going to be very narrow and tunneled by design, because you want them to be in a fix. You want to be them in a stuck between a rock and a hard place, so that it can be a very compelling story, and we don't know which way it's going to turn as the audience. So I just want to make sure that those two different states of being are not being conflated, yeah, and that they're kept very separate in the sense of consciously going into that. Now, the other state of being, the state of being for the character, one of the most important components on it is the ability to have the feeling as the artist that you can enter and exit freely. So I need to make sure that I always have that feeling that I'm creating this state of being, and I can go into it as deep as I need to, with the knowing, you know, the deep knowing as the artist, that I can exit whenever I need to as well. And paradoxically, when one knows that they have an exit and it's safe, then the idea is that creates a space for even further depth of entry, because you know you can leave at any time, and you have the trust in yourself that you can leave at any time unscathed, so that you can enter and exit freely. And that residue, you know, doesn't have to hang around for hours or days after you have your session. So that's my drop for the day. I hope you enjoyed it, and it's of value. Please send me an email. Would love to hear from you. I answer questions here on the lives, and I'd love to answer any questions you might have. So please send them to me, and I will respond with a video like this. And feel free to also email me if you want to come in and do a duet, because from time to time I'll be selecting some artists to join me, so we can do a live demonstration of some of the creative processes that we go through in order to develop a project to its next state. So thanks for popping in. More fun to come. Enjoy it all.